Ever since I was born, Daddy has been the best father you could ever imagine.
The real heartbreak on the Michael Jackson front is for his children. Geraldo is following that story. Back to follow-up segment tonight. The most heartbreaking scene at the Jackson Memorial this week was this.
Ever since I was born, Daddy has been the best father you could ever imagine. And I just wanted to say I love him so much.
This is how to wrap up our Jackson coverage. Fox News anchor Geraldo Rivera. And I understand that you met those children. You spent some time with them? How did that come about?
First of all, let me just say that any commentator who maintains that that scene was in any way staged is smoking cynicism. I've heard it plenty. And I think it's very unfortunate. That was a sincere, wonderful, simple moment.
You heard somebody say that was staged?
I did. I heard several commentators suggest that, and I just think they are so cynical, and they should look into their own hearts. What it showed me is what I saw with my own eyes. I met the children several times. I spent one almost entire day with the children in 2005 after Michael Jackson had been run off Neverland, or chose self-exile from Neverland after the place was, in his way, in his words, kind of made a sacrilege of by the raid.
Police raided it,
but not just a raid. It was 70 to 90 police cars. I mean, they totally overdid it. So he never went back to Neverland after that raid. We were staying in a hotel in Santa Monica. It was a big hotel suite. And he was basically the caregiver for those children. The nanny came in and out very briefly. The PR person came in and out again very briefly. It was essentially Michael Jackson and his 3 children, and Blanket, the 7-year-old, was at that time a toddler. I have to say that he was an absolutely normal, competent, loving
But remember,
dad.
You were there, and you're a father.
No, let me just say, I have to say this. It had nothing to do with me there, because the children addressed their father directly. Dad, I want to watch Nickelodeon. Okay. She wants to watch Disney Channel. Dad, I want Captain Crunch. No, you have to have Wheaties. I saw it with my own eyes, Bill. I'm not the kind of guy that could be conned. It wasn't a show for me. He was being a perfectly normal,
I have to ask you, this is a difficult question for me to ask, but I have to ask, and I think the audience wants an answer from you. Would you allow your young kids to sleep overnight with Michael Jackson?
I wouldn't allow my young kids to sleep overnight with any adult.
Right?
Except for Craig and my brother Willie, in terms of...
Right, because it really is unacceptable.
I am alone. I was alone in 2005. I had plenty of company, I noticed hypocritically, at this memorial service. I was alone in 2005 in believing that he was being framed. I thought that that complainant was recruited by the same lawyer who got the 1993 settlement, by the same psychologist on the 1993 team. She was herself a convicted welfare cheat.
Yep.
I think the whole thing, and that he would go for a 13-year-old cancer patient when he had the world, if you believe that he was a pedophile.
It's entirely possible that that's true, but his fixation on young children is unacceptable for any adult.
It was totally unacceptable, but again,
that's all.
Remember the context of what we were dealing with then. He had been, in this very grandiose way, raided and indicted and charged again with this pedophilia, this perversion. He was embattled in every sense, and yet people did not stop to look at who the complainant was, what the circumstances were of this case. I remember you were very angry at me because I was going around saying I would shave my mustache if he was convicted. So sure was I that he was innocent of these charges.
But I looked at it from a skeptical point of view. However, I always return to the same thing: that Mr. Jackson's behavior with young children, not his own, unacceptable for any adult. Now, let's advance the story here. Okay. You're watching all of this this week, okay? And you're seeing all the big-time anchors and journalists go out there, and they're basically glorifying Michael Jackson. They didn't glorify him, as you well know, when he was acquitted on the criminal charges. So how did you process that?
All right, that's an excellent question, because I did go through a whole kind of balancing act in my mind. I said, I think that this is a nice event they're staging here, but where were all of these famous people in the period between 2003 and 2005? I didn't see Brooke Shields. I didn't see, and I thought she was adorable and sincere and loving during the performance. I didn't see any of these religious people. I didn't see any of these performers. Michael Jackson was essentially actually in exile after he was accused. People wouldn't go near him with a stick. He was alone, he was embattled, he was frightened, he was frail, he was anorexic, he was underweight, he was translucent.
His family stayed with him. His family members stayed with him.
There was some reluctance there too, but the family
they were around.
But you also have to remember
how about the journalists?
He's the meal ticket for those for that family.
But how about the journalists, though? I mean, they all descend, and now he's the greatest guy, and these are the same people who are hammering him.
There were journalists, and I had to be amused when I saw who the Access Hollywood type shows, the Entertainment Tonight type shows, anointed as their Michael Jackson experts. All of them saying, "Oh, woe is me! The great artist is gone. The king is dead. Long live the king," and all the rest of it. These are the same people who made a career of saying Michael Jackson was a pervert. Michael Jackson was a sicko.
You want to name any names there?
Why should I? I mean, what's the point? They know who they are, and you know, ladies and gentlemen, who they were. You heard them. You remember back 4 years ago, they hated Michael Jackson, and now they extol his virtue as if he were the next comer.
Last question, 30 seconds. Isn't it eerie how close this is to Elvis as far as the death is concerned?
I think that it's a lot closer to Elvis in every regard.
Every way.
I read your column today. Right. I met Elvis, Jerry Weintraub, mutual manager. I investigated the facts and circumstances surrounding the death of Elvis. I knew the enablers in Elvis's case. Helped get Dr. Nikopoulos' medical license suspended. It is exactly the same story. I call on Attorney General Jerry Brown to go after these enablers, including all this list of 5 doctors. These people gave him the drugs. These are pimps for pills.
But you stay on it.
I'm going to. I promise you
investigate it. Yeah, because we'll do it on a weekly update.
I'm going after them ferociously.
All right, and the column Geraldo referred to ran in the New York Post today, about 300 other newspapers around the country. It's available on BillO'Reilly.com. Thank you, Geraldo. Plenty more ahead as a fact.